All right, that's right. That's right. You're in the right spot. Welcome back, everybody, to Cliff's Kayfabe Campfire. This is episode 4 now. Look at us. We're growing. Yeah. Go ahead and throw another log on the fire, please. I plan on being here as long as I can because my guest today is a pretty big deal, both figuratively and quite literally, everybody. This guy here, he's been in the business for a handful of years, and he's already made a big impact all over the indie scene in the South. If you've never listened to the show before, this is what it's all about. Indie wrestling, you know, the big guys like AEW and stuff, they got their exposure. We're trying to put the big spotlight on the indie scene here. I, of course, am based out of central Louisiana and also work in Texas and Arkansas, and this gentleman here tears up the Texas scene. Ladies and gentlemen, the Island War God, the big bad Hurricane Pro Heavyweight Champion, Mr. Tama Ku. Can you hear me, brother?
Man, Cowboy Cliff, let me tell you, brother, that's a hell of an introduction. I hope I can live up to that. I don't know if I'm that big of a deal, but I am physically, staturally a monster, so I will live up to at least being big in that way.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. You know, fake it till you make it. Am I right?
I've been doing it for the last handful of years, man.
Awesome. Well, hey, man, first of all, thank you for being on the show today. You know, for those of you listening to the show, we're not live streaming or anything. We only do that for special ones, you know, here at the Barn Studio. So this is taped the day before Thanksgiving, 2022. So, man, I know it's probably busy out there. I'm sure out there on Payne Island, y'all don't do turkey. So you're getting the pterodactyl ready to smoke, you know, for tomorrow. So, man, thank you for joining us on the show. Let's start with how you got in the business, obviously. I mean, why not start there?
Well, man, I think my origin story, as it were, probably isn't much more surprising or any more unique than anybody else. I mean, I started as a fan. As a kid, growing up watching wrestling. At that time, you know, I was born in the 80s, so it's something I got to do with my father and my older brother, as I'm the baby of the family. And of course, you know, when you're a kid, some kids want to be an astronaut or a doctor or a lawyer, and I was that kid that wanted to be a professional wrestler. And I always had that in mind. You know, a good friend of mine, when I graduated from high school, a good friend of mine, known as Masada on the scene, we grew up together, and he was starting to break into the business, doing some things for ECW. And at that time, right there in early 2000, the hardcore scene was really big. And he's like, Scott, brother, man, I know you know, you've got the size, you've got the look, man. If you want to get into wrestling, let's get you in. And I just didn't, hardcore didn't really appeal to me because I had zero aspirations of, you know, getting cut with a cheese grater and, you know, falling on barbed wire. But at that time, that's what the business was. So I waited, you know. But like I tell a lot of younger guys when I talk to them, man, I always had it in mind to just keep my body in shape, have the look, have a vision of what I wanted to be. So I just built on that every day. So for years, I'd have people walk up to me in the stores or at public events like, excuse me, sir, are you a wrestler? And that was the biggest compliment to me because that's what I wanted to emulate, you know. So I would always say, man, you got to have that look. You don't want people to ask you. You want people to just assume that you're a wrestler. So I actually didn't start until about 32 years old. I walked into a wrestling gym right here where we're located. We got Hurricane Pro Wrestling. And I had been going to the shows for years, and I said, man, it's either now or never. I'm not getting any younger, so let's go ahead and let's start now. They had the doors open for me, man. They welcomed me with open arms, and I've been having at it ever since, man.
You know, it was same thing with me. I was younger than you getting started, but it was the same scenario, really. I wanted to do it fresh out of high school, you know, like I wanted to not do college and just boom, boom. You know, I'm Louisiana, so about the only thing we had back then was Wildcat, and that was a good 3.5 hours away. And you know, of course, my parents are hitting me with the real world talk. Okay, how you going to survive? How you going to make money? How you going to do this? And so, you know, ended up doing the college route. So I didn't find the opportunity, you know, for instead of Hurricane, we had UWE, United Wrestling Entertainment, in the Pineville, Louisiana area, brand new. So I was 26, but you know, when you thinking, oh man, most guys are like 18, 19, 20 at most getting started, you're like, God, I'm behind the 8 ball here, you know. So I mean, it takes a lot of courage to kind of to bet on yourself, and yourself is always your first big opponent. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'll go on and say that wrestling by far is the craziest and hardest thing that I've ever done. I mean, and I'm used to being in front of a crowd. I used to play, football on the collegiate level. I played. I was a semi-amateur kickboxer. I used to do a lot of smoker tournaments, and so I'm used to having eyes on me and being out in front for a product. But wrestling now, especially when you get into it, it's like, man, what am I doing with myself? Especially how much creative control you have over yourself right now at this level where we're at. But it's now or never, and I think we're both, at least when you make the attempt, because you tell everybody you got to eat your own advice sometimes. Like, hey man, you never know, shoot for the moon, you might land amongst the stars, whatever the case is. And we're sitting here, we're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you look at Tama Ku, the character, when we look at the Island God of War, I'll just tell the folks, I tried to say fans and folks there, I don't know what came out. Anyway.
I got you.
When I first showed up to Hurricane Pro, which was, let's say summer of 22, early summer, y'all had just started y'all's season, because, for those that don't know, indies kind of, unlike the WWE and stuff, we kind of have like a season, or at least a lot of them do. You have you spring and summer when people are out and about wanting to go to stuff. And then you kind of start, at least anyways, a lot of people start kind of cutting back around wintertime, holiday time, because they're being realistic with how people spend their money. Unlike the big boys, we don't have the money to just keep it flowing all year long. So y'all had just kind of come back from the off season, and everybody was talking you up. You weren't champion yet, but everyone's like, man, that's the guy. Like that's the draw right there. So when I found out you hadn't been in the business but just a handful of years, it really kind of shook me, because I was, you just gave off that aura of like, oh yeah, I've been around the block 3 times and, held this, done that. But you played it off so well. And so I guess this next question here is like, man, what's it like being like the big dominant figure that basically in a match you're running the match, you're in control of the offense of the match, but in reality you're the green one. I mean what's that mental struggle like, I guess?
Man, that's thank you so much, by the way. I don't know how to, I have a hard time accepting my flowers, and I guess that's all a big compliment, but I firmly believe that I'm here to do a job. Every one of us in this business. I remember when you walked through the doors of Hurricane, you guys were just wanting to, just do your part and help out, and any place you guys could get on the show. And if you would remember, you guys were changing off to the side. And I'm like, hey guys, no man, you guys come over and change with us. Now I get it's an old school thing that you don't want to change with the vets, but my mindset is, and I've been very fortunate in the short time I've been in this business, really get along with some vets, had lots of conversations, because life is about conversation. I invited you guys over and said, man, come on, man, we're in this for the same thing, like me being champion right now, and me getting to be that big dog, that lead dog in the ring right now is, it's a huge compliment. I'm still getting, it's not a matter of you getting used to it, because this happens to be my role that I'm playing right now. I'm very, very fortunate that the fans have really taken to me. And again, for every fan that's listening right now, or any new fan that's listening to me, man, thank you so much for giving me your time, and your belief and everything else. And, the promoters got really behind it. And I'm typically booked that way in every promotion I get around to. I honestly believe at the end of the day, I am there to do a job, and whatever role that the promoters and the fans believe me to dictate that pace of match or be in that role, I'm just here. As much as grateful as I am to be champion right now, which is a huge compliment, that's just my role right now. And I'm just trying to do it as best I can, do that belt justice, do the promotion justice. And so far, man, when it feels like I don't know what I'm doing at all, people believe in me like I know what I'm doing, or at least looks like I know what I'm doing. So therefore, I must logically know what I'm doing, even though I don't necessarily have as much belief in myself as everybody else does. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. Perfect. It makes perfect sense, because, that's why, like, you see a lot of, like these shocking facts about like movie stars, wrestlers, celebrities, of like, oh, I didn't know that so and so was a drug addict or something, because they have this,
Sure.
everybody sees you as this
I'm not quite
superhero.
there as a drug addict.
No.
Just ibuprofen
Yeah,
to me right
yeah.
now.
Hey, we would like to clarify that both Cowboy Cliff and Tama Ku are clean. Uh, yeah.
So far, so
So
good.
far, yeah, we're young. But no, like you're basically a superhero, especially to the kids, and that you just need some time to rest, and I don't necessarily mean physically, I mean just mentally, just step away, and when everybody
That's the biggest
expects you
part.
to
Yeah.
have it together, I mean it's like you're not even allowed to have an off night, I mean, and if you don't think that pro wrestlers are allowed to have an off night, just watch it long enough. You'll see somebody slip or botch or mess up, even at like WrestleMania. Even the greats can have an off night, but it's like the bigger
Absolutely.
you get, the more lashes you get for that.
Oh man, all eyes are on you. You know, there's this thing like when I come out in every promotion I walk into, the fans tend to bark with me.
I was just telling somebody about that today.
I didn't start that. The fans did it to me. So really, they started barking at me, so I started barking back. It became this thing. And now, before when my music hits, before I even hit the curtain, man, you're hearing them barking and you're hearing them go crazy. They're calling for me.
I freaking love it.
Jesus Christ, man!
I absolutely love it.
It's an absolute high. I mean, I've got goosebumps thinking about it right now. And it's crazy to think that again, I still feel, after a few years in this business, a handful of years, that I'm like, man, what did I do? I guess I just haven't screwed up that much yet. That's honestly what it feels like.
Yeah. I mean, hey, man, I'm with you. Like, I've been in, just a little smidge of time myself, but of course not as long as you. So, it's always fun to sit down and get advice. And, I've told people, he's a big, scary monster when that bell rings, and he's definitely not something to fool with physically. But you couldn't ask for a nicer guy that's willing to give some advice and not just kind of blow you off, whatever, get out of my face, kid, that kind of thing.
Like I said, man, I'm nobody special, brother. I mean, we're really and truly at the end of the day, man, we're in it for the same goal. Like when I met you and the rest of the guys for DWE, man, if I have any amount of success or anything I could offer, absolutely. Because if anything, I want you guys to do just as well as me, be received as well as me, if not better. Really and truly, because when those fans go home and they feel entertained, they feel like they saw something special, whether that's Cowboy Cliff Rogers, the Island War God Tama Ku, or Big Bad Ed Stone, whoever it is. And big shout out to my boy Ed Stone.
What's up?
That's the goal. That's the goal, is to make sure that they feel great, that they witness something special when they walk up and they shake hands with Cowboy Cliff Rogers. They're like, man, I met a superstar tonight, and that's what we owe them. You know?
Yeah.
And it's a big responsibility. It really is. I'm sorry, you were saying?
Oh yeah. Hey, no, that was a great commercial. I love that. Man, so let's get into the actual in-ring work here. I heard you talk earlier about the barking, just now about people barking. I told somebody about that today, dude. They were asking, because they're new to indie wrestling, they know televised wrestling really well, and they know I'm a wrestler, so they're just like, all right, well, tell me about this cat on your podcast. I'm like, well, I've met him a few times. He's a champion. I said, dude, he barely even has to do anything. I mean, the crowd does it for him. I mean, they start barking, chanting. I mean, you feel like you're in freaking Africa, and there's some kind of like sacrificial, like tribal fight about to happen. It's like the Wakanda scene from Black Panther. So anyway, so there's that, and naturally there's because of your size, of course you work the big man monster style and all that. What's some things that you like doing that kind of deviates from that basic path of just like big chop, big clothesline, growl, slam? I mean, like what's some exciting flair? I mean, like we've seen guys in the past add, as Mark Henry puts it, that big man magic to it. So like what's the Tama Ku brand of big man magic?
Oh, like me growing up, my whole character and the way that I operate inside the ring, first off, it feels like I'm the video game character and the audience is the controller, right? So I'm basically just feeding off of them and what they want to see. So when they're at a fever pitch, if this is working, man, let's continue on with this. And also, we have to make it special. So I can't give them the entire time while I'm in the ring, because I've got to make them want it, like I refused when I got into this business. And I know I'm a big man, and the typical big man move in every promotion, everybody you see is going to do the choke slam. And I swore to myself when I first walked into the business, I am going to do anything and everything but the choke slam. Yes. I don't want to be that typical big guy, right? But damn it, Cowboy Cliff, let me tell you, they want it so damn bad. Every single match. So, man, I'll tease it. I'll grab someone by the throat, man. I'll signal for it, and they are at a fever pitch. And by the time I finally nail that choke slam, and dude, that might be the story of the whole match. It's just me going for it and you getting out of it. And by the time I hit it, oh man, it's an explosion. It's an explosion. But everything that I do is really based off of all that 80s and 90s wrestling. So my key, I guess my magic, and I've had lots of these conversations with parents that bring their kids there, because obviously it's something as a father or a grandfather that you can bring your kids to.
Oh, yeah.
That's also, you were a fan as well. So there's things that you love. Man, so you'll see me do a lot of things in the ring. My moves aren't special, but it's what I do in transition to moves and what I do in between the moves that makes me special. Like the Ultimate Warrior roach shake, or the Vader pounce, or there's things that you remember from these big, strong characters growing up. I make sure that I'm a bit of nostalgia for those families, and all of a sudden, for those fathers and grandfathers, and all of a sudden their kids and their grandkids, they're popping to it too, just as much as the dads are. So when I'm shaking hands and I'm meeting the fans afterwards, I can't tell you how many times I've had fathers and grandfathers walk up to me, shake my hand, thank me, cry to me, and say, thank you so much. It reminds me so much that I did with my grandfather and my father. And that's really the key, because at this point, that's success to me.
I see you're very active on social media. Guys, give this big fella a follow on Facebook and Instagram. You're always taking time.
At Savage Tama Ku, by the way, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. But yeah, go on. I'm sorry.
At Savage Tama Ku. There we go. Almost got the
Savage Tama Ku.
There we go.
There's a story to that here in a bit, but go on.
Awesome. So anyway, he's always taking time out of his night, guys, take pictures with the fans and all that, and shares those stories in the post and all that. So definitely check him out. And dude, yeah, that is what it's all about. Is like you say, something you can bring your grandkids and stuff to. Well, that's the next generation of people that are going to be doing stuff like this, whether it be wrestling or hosting a podcast or just watching it with their friends or tweeting about it. That's the next generation. So we're kind of, it's kind of a big responsibility when you think about it. And deviating over there to, about the moveset, man, I know exactly what you mean when you're saying, like, man, I do not want to do this dadgum choke slam. I don't want to be that guy. Well, it was the same with a cowboy gimmick, because I started doing a bulldog just because, used to rodeo. Why not? I mean, it's already a natural motion. Now the thing is you want to make sure you don't kill the guy, because a steer's a lot bigger than a person. So what brings a steer down could probably put someone in the serious ER, So So I start doing the bulldog out of the corner and all that. Well, then my trainer, Dapper Dan, great coach, veteran, all that, love him to death. He came to me. I hope he don't hear me say that. He's gonna slap me. But he came to me and he was like, that right there could probably be a finish. And then my other trainer, Prince Fontenot, he was like, no, I think that needs to be your finish. I think you need to milk it old school, but maybe leap with it, turn it into like an RKO bulldog. So I tried it and it got a pop, and it's just like what you said. The audience was like, boom, that was clean. I liked it. But me going into it, the first time I used it, I'm like, I'm going to get crickets on this. Everyone's going to be like, that's it? That's the finish? What? That's all you got? And dude, no, it was a pop. I mean, I hit it out of a reversal of another move. So like you say, it's all in the transition. I feel like if I would have just set up for it, got them amped up, and then done it, it would have been overwhelming. But because, like Randy, you do it out of nowhere, it gives them the shock. So much like with you, like you say, your moves are pretty basic, but it's what you do in between the moves that makes it from a choke slam to, oh my God, Tama Ku just killed that man.
Oh man, you're talking to a guy that one of my main moves is a Samoan spike, and it couldn't be more basic. What I do, but when I hit people in the throat with that thumb, people are like, oh my God, he killed him.
Well, some of the
gonna die, and also that's to my dance partner too,
like in the world of MMA and boxing, some of the greatest knockout highlights of all time are not pretty. They're just just fist to the mouth. So that's just like your spike, dude. I think people love it. I love it because it reminds me of a Texas bar fight, dude. Let's just knock that sucker out. I don't want to see a flip. I don't need to see the jazz hands. I just want to see bam, So that's kind of the mentality of definitely the Texas fan base, man. So I think it's money where you are at.
And and thank you. Talking about that, I talked to a lot of the guys in the back, and they're talking about their move sets. To kind of piggyback off of that, their moves, and like, hey, hey, what'd you think about my match? Or, oh man, I think I messed up here. Or this could have been cleaner. I'm like, hell no, man. It's that a fight, like you said earlier, fights are ugly. It's not supposed to be pretty and crisp all the time. As a matter of fact, the grittier, and as wrestlers, if you can remember that, as performers, that the grittier we can make something look, the more it makes that crowd groan, like, oh man, because they could relate to that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So ugly is pretty in our business.
Oh, yes, it is. I can attest to that. This last Saturday night, like I say, this is recorded, so this would have been November 19th, 22 in Beaumont, Texas. Tama, you were there, but you were, just cutting a Goldberg style. I'm going to walk out in my leather promo. I was actually involved in the 20-man Royal Rumble style battle royal for the new Hurricane Pro open weight title. Shout out to Jared Wayne. He's the new champion. Hey, Jared, open weight means any weight. I'm coming for you, brother. But anyway,
hell yeah.
It was definitely a fun match, but man, just like you say, ugly is pretty. First of all, you can't feel nothing when you're in there. And then I don't care who you are. You can't feel a thing. Your body's numb. If you do feel it, something went wrong. Yes. And it's like you don't even feel yourself getting winded. You just start slowing down, So battle royals are hard because you're constantly moving. And it's like, the best advice I was given going into that battle royal, I believe it was the Rebel Scum. What's his name? Chris. He's blue collar crew. Chris Sindel. I just know him as Chris. But Chris Sindel. He gave us some advice going, and then he goes, if you ain't doing nothing, you're wrong. So, you always got to be moving. So you may have been in the Rumble for 5 minutes, but it feels like 25 because you haven't really laid down.
You're working.
So anyway, by the end of it, when I get to the back, I think I saw you over there, feet up, hanging out, enjoying a nice Tama Ku beverage. And I look, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I was going to talk to you, and I just locked up, and I look, and dude, my pec was like blood red, and literally, looked like somebody had taken like a knife to me because I just had like these cuts in the skin almost from getting slapped so much. And then I look at my arm where I got knocked over the rope again by Edge Stone. If you're gonna get eliminated, at least it's by somebody like that. He takes me out, and I had rope burn all over my back. Didn't feel a thing, And then so that right there was like the poster child of like, this isn't really fake, Because man,
absolutely, it's full contact for sure. It's someone like Edge Stone again. Another great shout out to him. Great guy, super friendly guy. He will help anybody in the business, but when he's in that ring, dude, he's a cement mixer, and you'll definitely feel it later.
You
were in there with a lot of great guys in that ring, man. I was really happy for you, seeing you get to mix it up with some of the greats. Really, that's been featured on AEW and NWA Power, and you're getting a chance to mix it up with those guys. But I knew that you were getting the business end a lot while you're in there.
Well, they were so kind enough, if you will, to not double team on me. So I was able to definitely get some good moves in on camera in front of the crowd, kind of establish, hey,
Absolutely.
This is who I am. One of those vets you were talking about, Johnny Lyons, he's been to Japan, and he's I don't say this about other fellas, but that is a handsome man. Oh my God, he looks like a Ken doll, But
man, Johnny takes it to the next level. He's the only guy I know that shows up in the locker rooms just dressed to not even the 9s or the 10s. The guy's dressed to the 20s all the time, every time you see him.
And his kicks feel like a hornet's nest, So I get in there to wrestle this dude, and he's in the corner, he's hurt. So me and Jordan Jensen, another great worker, big sidewalk slam, boom. I'm getting mine in on Jordan. Yeah, I'm running the ring. And then next thing you know, oh my God, what was that? Oh my God. And then Johnny Lyons, it's over with, But then you couldn't help but at the end of the day, be like, yes, I'm ticked off and I'm about to give it back, but I'm about to punch Johnny Lyons. Like, I mean, hold on, I got to take a second here. Like this is really cool. I go and I trade shots with Ed Stone, and I'm just like, okay, this isn't working. Of course it's not. Literally his name is Stone. So very fun. Even though I didn't win the thing as a competitor, it hurts a little bit, but it gives you fire to come back later. And just looking back on that, it's not really a loss. What was your like? Can you name me a time? Your first time feeling like that when you're just like, man, I can't believe I'm in here with who I'm in here with.
Yeah, man, hell, at this point, I can't believe I'm friends with who I'm friends with now at this point. Because as a fan, I, came into this business idolizing a lot of these guys, and everybody's been so kind to be nice to me. I remember I did a Rumble at Texas All-Star Wrestling in Houston, and this was a huge compliment to myself. I was about a year in the business. And one of my buddies asked me, actually, Mr. Jared Wayne, the open weight champion over at Hurricane Pro, asked me to ride out there with him. He's like, hey, man, why don't you come on out? We could probably get your spot in this Rumble. You know the way that goes. I'm like, maybe I'll bring my gear just in case, So I walk in and I shake hands and I start, and a lot of people just say hello to me, and I'm giving them my shoot name. I'm also so weird about that. I don't know when you walk into a locker room, is this my gimmick name or is my shoot name? How am I introducing myself?
Side note, when I met you, you introduced yourself as Scott, and then everybody else is using the gimmick. And then I remember you just break the conversation and you go, come on, guys, you didn't tell me we were using code names.
Well, yeah, hell, I meet somebody like Gatekeeper, and then the next person's name is X. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm the person with the pussy name. I'm just Scott. But so I did the same thing, as I meet everybody. I'm like, hey, Scott, nice to meet you. And the Bionic Silverback, Nate Slater, walks up to me as I'm getting dressed. He goes, hey, wait, and you're Tama Ku. I'm like, yeah, man, that's me. He goes, I didn't recognize you until you started putting on your gear. I'm like, oh, okay. Nice, man. Nice to meet you. And again, Nate Slater's who's one of my best friends. He's a brother to me now. He's been so helpful to me in this business. So shout out to Big Nate. He walked up to me. I got to meet him that night. And several other guys walked up to me, and they recognized me as for who I was, and which is, again, for anybody to recognize me and even be familiar with my content or even like my content is a huge compliment. But when I was in that Rumble, it was the first time for me to mix it up with my gimmick approaching other gimmicks in front of these fans that may or may not be familiar with me and everybody else. So, like, when you were in that ring, all of a sudden it's the Cowboy Cliff Rogers, and he's about to get into it with Chris Lyons, and all of a sudden it's the Cowboy Cliff Rogers, and he's about to get into it with the Cowboy Chandler Hopkins, and he's about to turn around and do it with Ed Stone or Ryan Davidson, all these huge names that we've known for years. And so how is Cliff going to mix it up with these other personalities? And it was the same thing for me walking into that, because there were so many wrestlers that I had watched for years, and all of a sudden now they're meeting Tama Ku, and how are we going to mesh in the ring? And man, it's like when you're in there, it's on autopilot. What I do and what you do. I remember I was at Comic-Con, and was it Simbashi? Simbashi, he does a lot of stuff out of, he's a Canadian Dragon Simbashi, works out of Wildcat. Not Wildcat, Lion's Pride. Lion's Pride. And anyway, so he's just kind of this jerky, cocky character. And when I come in, he looks at me, he's like, whoa. He goes, hey, high five. And I go, okay, high five. I'm looking at the crowd. And so you want me to high five them? I don't even know where that came from. And they're like, no, boo. I'm like, okay, me high five. And I go and I grab him by the throat for the choke slam.
Oh, yeah.
And I choke slammed him, and I'm screaming. I'm like, me no high five you. And I'm choking him, and the crowd's going crazy for it. But it's nothing that we talked about. It was just something that just happened.
And like, that's one of those things, people often wonder, like, how's it done without planning out? Sometimes, like, okay, he goes for the high five. You're a big guy that choke slams. It's just so blatantly obvious why talk about it. I mean, it's like, hey, put the round one in the round hole, put the square one in the square hole. I mean, hey, so like I'll say my.
And that's that. Go ahead.
No, man, it's all you.
Well, I was going to say that's. I was going to say that's that flow. Whereas Simbashi and I weren't really familiar with each other but we kind of know what we're about. So there's a lot of give and take there, because you're trusting me to react to you in the appropriate way, right? When you're in the ring. And now I'm giving out all the secrets here. Just like I also turned around as I cleared the ring, and I turned around right into Tommy Bolton headbutt, right? The buzzard, and he's known for his headbutts. So I stumbled, boom, Ric Flair bumped off of that, big pop from the crowd. So again, as much as everybody's giving you, you're giving back to them as well. So there's a lot of trust in that ring. That I'm trusting you with Tama Ku, and you're trusting me with Cliff Rogers, and we're all doing that.
Yes, absolutely. You know, and you know, everybody works together. The show's great, and that's, you know, really what it's all about. So speaking of shows, man, what is, you know, so right now I understand that you're rehabbing some battle wounds, but what is lined up for Tama Ku into 2023?
Well, man, right now everything is fluid. I have got my Hurricane dates, but for throughout the year, as I'm currently the heavyweight champion, and I don't know what the plan is there for me going forward, but it really depends on the nature of this injury. I know and this happened mid-match, you know, people were asking me, how did this match happen? And they assumed it was because, you know, Nate Slater had hit me wrong, or if I fell wrong, or whatever the case was. It was a matter of me executing a move to Nate Slater, and as we collided on the mat, that's when I felt the pec tear from the shoulder. And that was about midway through the match.
Yeah.
So I went for my MRI yesterday, and I'm waiting for the doctors to get back with me. And that's whereas I'm feeling better and better day by day, I don't know to the extent if I'm feeling better, it just means I'm going to get better. If I start getting active again, I go work a match and it rips the pec completely from the bone, which will require surgery. If I just need to take it easy for 6 months. So it really depends on that. But I've had a lot of promotions reach out to me, and I actually have the luxury, and this is going to sound really cocky, and I don't mean to say it like this, but I have the luxury of saying no more than I say yes. Because I get contacted every weekend for bookings, which is fantastic, which tells me that promoters and fans enjoy what I do. But I know that there will be opportunities for me going into this next year with Metroplex Wrestling, Lions Pride, Texas All-Star, of course.
Yeah.
But again, just like the situation remains fluid in the ring, my bookings remain fluid. And who knows, man? I got a lot of people reaching out to me asking when am I going to go into the big leagues, and then heck, that could all happen in a matter of a day. So I'm open to it, man. So right now it's just trying to get this shoulder and this pec better, and this gives me an opportunity to reinvent myself a little bit, maybe pack on a little bit more muscle, have a better presence, maybe redo some of my gear, and just take those opportunities as it comes.
There you go, champ. Well, wish you the best of luck of that. Also, a little bit more on the Indie Spotlight for coming up at the end of 2022. Two shows that I'm going to be featured on that I know for sure. There's Haybarn Championship Wrestling over there in Arkansas. Small company, good shows, okay? Don't judge them on the size. Small venue, great show. It's in Prescott, Arkansas, December 3rd. That show is at, I believe, 5 o'clock. Yeah, 6 o'clock is when that's going down. Prescott, Arkansas. You can find them on Facebook. Haybarn Championship Wrestling. Only fitting that they bring the cowboy in for that. Am I right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, right. And dude, Arkansas chicks love them some Cliff. I mean, so that's going to be a good trip. Then we also have my home federation, the one I started in, UWE. We're branching out, doing a Texas show again, and that's going to be in Seguin, Texas on December 10th. That's out there around San Antonio, suburb of San Antonio. So December 10th, Seguin, Texas. Like UWE on Facebook to find out more about that. Those are two fun Southern-style indie shows right there, one in Arkansas, one in Texas, that you can catch at the end of 2022. Hurricane Pro Championship Wrestling, they just wrapped for the year. The show we've been talking about with the Battle Royal, shout out to Jared Wayne again. That was their last one. They're going into the off season. But you guys, I believe that the booker there, Richard Cranium, if you will, he likes to post the full schedule as soon as he gets it. So if you like him on social media, that's Hurricane Pro in Beaumont. You can be up to date on when you can see the Island War God and all the other great host of characters they got, and they always bring in random people, and then sometimes they get desperate and they book me. So so you never know who you're going to see over there at Hurricane Pro, and so that's a couple of things that you can look forward to. If you're a big indie fan, you're always looking for a fun indie show. There you go. Tama, before I cut you loose, man, I like to do something just for fun at the end of the show. Give me your favorite. It can either be like a road story or a rib story that you've been in the business. Go for it.
Man, at this point, again, I've been so fortunate that a lot of the boys in the locker rooms and a lot of the vets have taken so well to me. That I'm in the middle of everything here now. Man, you know what? I'll go ahead and tell you this one. This isn't necessarily a road story, but you know, when you get into this business and you're so just, I don't know, you're anxious and you're nervous getting into that ring, and you're like, oh man, I just hope I put on the show for the wrestlers, you know, I mean, not the wrestlers, but the fans. And also I want to do justice by the wrestler in the ring, my great dance partner, you know? And so the highest profile match at that point when I was getting in there was when we did Cowboy Chandler Hopkins and Ryan Davidson, the grizzled vet. The two guys, again, that I've been friends with them for years, and they would sit there and talk to me and give me all these notes and the critiques. And but then I had a three-way match with them, and I was going to be the one going over. And I'm like, holy shit, this is so much responsibility.
I was there for that.
Were you? Okay, you were there for that. So I had a lot of guys talk to me after that match. They're like, oh my God, man, Scott, that was awesome, man. That was incredible. That was one of the best matches you ever had. I'm like, guy, I couldn't remember shit, you know, in the match. So literally, as I'm in the match, Chandler Hopkins and Ryan Davidson are calling the match to me. And all I'm doing is live ad-libbing everything they're telling me to do.
I mean, that's the best way.
Oh, man, it's incredible. I'm glad that they had the faith in me to be able to do it. And when I went to the back, all the boys and girls was like, holy shit, Scott, man, that's the best thing you've ever done. I'm like, dude, I didn't know what I was doing. They're just literally in the moment telling me step by step. And I just felt like a baby marionette, you know, going out there and letting them control everything I did. And it was a very fulfilling experience. It took a lot of edge and anxiety off of my career, knowing that I can do this. I can do it at a high level. And something that where I felt, man, I can't do this. I'm going to let these guys down. These are the most incredible guys I ever met in my life. Oh my God, they're so handsome. Oh my God, they're incredible. What am I going to do? I'm not worthy of being in the ring with them, you know. And I got to excel in that moment because of them. So that's actually one moment I'm never going to forget. And sorry, I know it's not as funny or maybe that incredible of an experience, but for me, it was absolutely incredible and changed the way that I absolutely look at this business going forward.
Well, brother, I can tell you, I was watching that thing from the locker room because I actually worked. That was my first night ever visiting Hurricane. Richard Cranium, I helped set the ring up, and he was like, hey, tell you what, you, and you, y'all are going to work a pre-show program. So I was lucky enough.
That's right, I remember that.
To get to work that night. That's when I met you. That was my first time ever seeing you work because, you know, I don't mean this with any disrespect. I hadn't discovered you yet. I didn't know who you were yet. So that was my first introduction to you. And man, I can tell you that was just a dominant display. That was a fun match. My first time seeing Ryan Davidson as well. Chandler wasn't too happy that, you know, there was already a cowboy there, but what you going to do? And, you know, it was working for you guys. So yeah, man, that's a great story. That's a cool one. I got one for you. I got one for you really quick. So it was you know, so of course I spent about half my life in Texas, but first time wrestling in Texas professionally, I get over there and, you know, we me and another gentleman I'm riding with that's also on the card, we get there and I'm like, hey bro, grab my merch. I got to get in there and, help set this up, whatever. I was running behind, you know, so, he said he grabbed my merch and he just doesn't. So the next thing you know, it goes to intermission. I'm ready to go sell some gimmicks and it ain't there. So luckily, the hotel we're staying at is like maybe 200 yards away, and there's a little bamboo bridge that takes you from the venue to the hotel. It was pretty sweet. So here I am, black and white cowboy boots, white spandex, no shirt, and I'm just sprinting across this bridge. There are people, there are families walking around, eating ice cream cones, holding shopping bags, and they're like, what in God's name And here I am just sprinting outside in the Texas heat. And I get to this dude's car, and his car was, a piece of work. The windows didn't work, all that. So I bring the keys, I open a grab, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not about to run. So I just jump in the window, Bo Duke style, drive it back to the venue, and I get in just in time to sell like a couple of shirts, and then there was a cute little girl in a cowgirl hat that wanted a picture, so I was able to do that, and then back to the locker room, time to get ready to go to work. So it worked out. So later that night, show went great. So as wrestlers, hey man, we made money, we did a good show, let's go celebrate with some beverages. We have a wild night. I forget to tell the guy that I drive his car back to the venue. So he wakes up and he's like, oh my God, it happened. It finally happened. Somebody got in there and hot wired it. It's gone. How are we going to get back? Like, what are we doing? So I wake up out of my hangover and go get me some black coffee, shake back. I walk in the lobby and this dude is just pacing. He's pale white. He's like, Clifford. What are we going to do, man? And I'm like, what do you mean? Hold on. You don't need to be talking this loud. And he's just like, man, where's my fucking car? Where's my motherfucking car, dude? And I'm just like, oh, yeah, it's at the venue. He wanted to slap me. But then I was like, that's what you get for not grabbing someone's merch when you just said, hey, I'm going to do it. So, we just called that one even. But, man, I'm telling you, that was probably the most colorful story I have so far when it comes to road stories, man. Hopefully somebody gets a kick out of that.
Oh, man, believe me, there's more to come. But speaking about when you said that, when you found out, like, you discovered Chandler Hopkins and Ryan Davidson and everybody that night when you met us. And by the way, again, thank you. That's a huge compliment for the first time you see us and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. These guys, they got something special going on. That's the hope for everybody that we encounter with, As again, we don't know what it is. So we can bottle it. You're making a ton of money. But if you know that you have a little bit of it, hey, man, that's what we're here for. But talking about the Cowboy Chandler Hopkins too is, incredible and just so light in the ring. You have a cowboy gimmick as well. Well, I've been known in my short time in this business to be really good with character development, and I've had you along with some other guys reach out to me about how you can expand and work on the details of character work and gimmick work. But for any wrestler that's listening to this right now, and by the way, always feel free to reach out to me, man. I'll answer any question. A matter of fact, how I started in this business was reaching out to Ryan Davidson. And he actually took time and answered questions for me. And I'm sure he gets that hundreds of times a year. I get it hundreds of times a year. Who knows who actually follows through with it? But I digress. So when, you're developing a character and you're getting into this business, at this point, the wheel's already been invented, right? There is nothing unique that you're going to do.
No.
So it's either you're going to, either you're going to come up with something unique, which is going to be really out there and may or may not be, taken by the fans, or you do something else that somebody else is doing and just make it better and make it your own, right? And I think you very successfully did that, because I think there's more cowboys out there besides for you and Chandler. But I think when you look at Chandler, he's definitely known to be a cowboy in his own right, as well as you, when you do the white spandex and the boots and the way that you do, you're growing out this great mustache, man. I love it. I love everything about your character. I already told you about that before. There's not going to be any cute cowgirls that really won't want to take a picture with the war god Tama Ku. That's all for you. And I'm jealous, brother, but you can have it. But anything you do, man, just own it and make it your own,
Absolutely. But hey, man, that's always the hope. And also word of advice to any wrestlers might be listening to this. There's always an easy ripcord to get out of that predicament. I actually had to do it one time with Chandler. It was actually in this last show. It worked for me. If there's already like not even just with a cowboy, let's say, something else that there's a lot of, like, I don't know, big scary Samoans. Wink, wink.
Fortunately, there's not a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, like, let's say you're in a situation where there's already your gimmick there and it's over, and then you start getting the boos and the off-brand. Just be a heel. Just lean into it and be like, hey, shut up. I'm the real one. That's the off-brand. And then proceed to just be a heel. That's always an easy ripcord. They don't want to like you. Good. Give them something not to like.
They already don't want to like you. Perfect. You watch a lot of guys like Jordan Jensen or Edge Stone, and, man, they're really good at just giving it right back to that crowd. These fans know what they want. My wife, when she came out to the show for the first time, and she knows I'm going through this adventure of being a wrestler later in life, and she saw these kids running up and getting fives from the wrestlers, and they're booing them. And she's like, "Oh, do you guys come here all the time?" Like, I'm sorry. She said, she asked them, "Who's your favorite wrestler?" Like, we don't know. Like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, this is our first time here. She goes, "Well, who do you know how to boo and who to cheer?" She goes, "Oh, you just know." These kids are smart. These fans are smart, man. They know what they want to do to you. You just have to give them a reason to cheer you or boo you. So yeah, that ripcord. As a matter of fact, I would love if there's another monster on the show or a Samoan War guy, because yeah, I'm just going to turn around and give it right back to the fans. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah.
I remember. Speaking of Chris Sindel, I remember there was so he's a Wildcat talent. He's right there in Louisiana. Jace Valor, the Baton Rouge Bullet. Jace Valor, super awesome guy. And he came out to Hurricane Pro and worked the show for us. And we didn't know that his music is the same as the Blue Collar Crew with Chris Sindel and Billy Wayne Fletcher.
Oh, wow.
So Blue Collar Crew opened up the show, and we're sitting back. We're in the back talk about matches, man. We're cracking open a beer. And all of a sudden, mid-sip, they hear their music come on. They didn't know that was Jace Valor's music. They're like, "Oh, shit, man, what are we going to do? We got to get out there. I'm like, oh, hold on. No. It's Jason's music. It's Jason's music. But again, there was no feedback. Pushback from the fans on that. Nobody even recognized in that moment that music had already been played. Like when I went and cut this promo, like we were saying on Saturday night, I'm like, man, Tama Ku doesn't speak to people. I'm like, do I do this in character? How do I do this? They said, "Well, go out there and give an honest from the heart promo." I said, "I will." I had my Goldberg jacket, which by the way happens to be a sleeveless leather vest I used to wear when I was bouncing nightclubs. So it's just regular attire for me. It was a matter of they're out there talking to him, and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes said this, and I remember I got so much positive feedback when I got back to the back on cutting that promo, because I never go out there and talk to the fans. But remember, when it comes to in-run work and it comes to promo work, the fans will not remember what you said. They're not going to remember how you said it. They're just going to remember how it made them feel. And that's our job, man. Make them boo you or make them cheer you. It's up to us to make them know how to feel.
Man, that's absolutely right. That's it in a nutshell right there. Well, Big Bad Tama, man, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this with us. Man, Thanksgiving, it's tomorrow. Hope you have a good downtime, smoking the pterodactyl, having all the cave people over for a big feast. I think it's going to be a good one out there on Payne Island. Man.
Hell yeah, man. Lots of naps. I think we might even watch the football games. I don't know. We'll see what kind of reception we get out here.
Yeah. Of course, me, I got the game on in every room in the house. So, if anything, I'll just text you the updates. We might have to do it that way.
Just let me know by smoke signals. I got to get to the top of the volcano so I can get pretty good reception.
Got you. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Guys.
Well, it's been fun, man. Thank you for having me, brother. It's been fun.
Absolutely. We will see you in the future, my friend.
Sounds good, man. I look forward to it. Hey, can't wait for the War God Tama Ku to either team or mix it up with, or vice versa, whatever it is, with the Cowboy Cliff Rogers. Man, I very much look forward to you, and that's on my wish list for this next year.
Dude, me too. Look at that. Let's put our heads together. Let's get it booked. Let's make it happen.
Hey, anybody listening, UWE, Hurricane Pro, anybody, let's do this, man.
Let's make it happen. Absolutely. All right. And just like that, there he goes, ladies and gentlemen. That was the Island War God, Big Bad Tama Ku. Like him on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. That's at Savage Tama Ku. I'm Cowboy Cliff Rogers, about to pee on the fire, call in the dogs, ladies and gentlemen. That's been another episode of Cliff's Kayfabe Campfire. We'll see you next time, y'all. Tombstone!